Who can forget the 90s? It was such a simple time full of experimental fashion and devoid of social media. Kids in the 90s grew up without outlets like Facebook and YouTube for entertainment, and it was certainly a different time. But what has changed since then? How is our world different? Well, we'll tell you in a second. But first, before we begin this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more daily tips like this, and turn on notifications so you never miss our new videos. Number 1. Brown lipstick. For some reason, this used to be a thing. Perhaps they were aiming for a natural look, but brown lipstick really just makes it look like you've been eating chocolate. Number 2. Phone numbers. In the 90s, it was pretty common for people to memorize a handful of phone numbers. We remember a few family and friends' numbers that we could dial by heart. Nowadays, people rarely even know their significant other's number by heart. We let our smartphones handle that for us. Number 3. Making plans. In the 90s, it was all about scheduling ahead and keeping plans organized. There was no way to quickly check if plans were still on. And if your pal was already out for the day, there would be no way of reaching them. Number 4. Middle parts. While this mostly goes for men's hairstyles, most women tend to part their hair to the side or push it back rather than rocking a full-on middle part as well. Number 5. Frosted tips. This was a huge thing for guys in boy bands. Who remembers Justin Timberlake's frosted tip look? Unless you're Guy Fieri, this look is pretty much extinct today. Number 6. Watching TV. Back in the 90s, if you liked the show, you could only watch one episode at a time, sometimes one episode per week. Show binges were not a thing unless you owned the box set. You would have to wait a week to see a new episode, and if you wanted to watch an old episode, you would have to wait for it to air as a rerun. Number 7. Airport meetings. It used to be a pretty romantic gesture to pick up your loved one at the airport gate. Or maybe you want to meet a family member. But thanks to new rules to avoid airport traffic, you now have to meet them in the departure area. Number 8. Sweater around the waist. Okay, so we guess technically some people can still pull this off, but not with any sweater. It's definitely not something you see as often as you would have in the 90s. Number 9. Photo backgrounds. Photo backgrounds, elementary school photos from the 90s are usually pretty hilarious. The strange hairstyles and wardrobe were one thing, but the strange backgrounds were always wild. You definitely don't see any school pictures with lasers in the background anymore. Number 10. The Macarena. Doing this dance was a pretty popular thing at most school dances or weddings. The sad thing is, if this song started playing today, there probably would be a few 90s babies who remember the whole routine. Number 11. Pushing someone in the pool. This was seen as a funny prank back in the day, but if you were to do this to someone now, you would definitely be facing a friend who is demanding you replace their waterlogged phone. Number 12. Shopping. In the 90s, mostly everything that was purchased came from stores. Shopping online was very new still, with Amazon being launched in 1995, followed by eBay. Number 13. Internet patience. The internet was still pretty much a baby in the 90s, and things went a lot slower. You would have to wait for pages to load or programs to start up. Nowadays, when something takes so much as 3 seconds, we start to get frustrated. Number 14. Sending faxes. In the 90s, faxing was a pretty common way to send documents and files quickly. This was before the days when documents were in the form of a computer file. Number 15. Platform sandals. Although platforms are coming back, there is a limit. In the 90s, it was hip to rock a pair of platform sandals that could get up to this high. This looks like a recipe for a broken ankle, and it should probably stay in the 90s. Number 16. Cassette tapes. Even if you're a die-hard fan of a musician, you're most likely not going to be listening to your music on a cassette tape. People would have to drag around a Walkman, as well as multiple tapes or mixtapes if they wanted to switch artists. Nowadays, most people just use their phones or their iPhone to store 10 times as much music as a tape can hold. Number 17. Scrunchies. Ask yourself this. When was the last time you saw someone wearing a scrunchie? Unless you work at a daycare, you probably haven't seen one in a while. To be totally frank, being a man, the idea of scrunchies going out of style barely crosses my mind. However, after some research, we found out that scrunchies are versatile, fun to slingshot, and less damaging to your hair. What the heck? Why did they go out of style then? Well, apparently, according to a writer at Bustle, it might have had something to do with this quote from Sex and the City. No woman who works at W Magazine and lives on Perry Street would be caught dead at a hip downtown restaurant wearing a scrunchie. Harsh, Miranda. Harsh. Number 18. Beanie Babies. Remember these little guys? They would have the tag that said TY, and when you opened them, it would be their name and an adorable little poem? When was the last time you saw one of these? That's right, 1999. It's unfortunate because we really like these sweet little creatures, but hey, if you're ever feeling really nostalgic, just head over to your local garage sale and look through the 25-cent box. It's almost guaranteed you'll find a Beanie Baby hidden in there somewhere. Number 19. N64. With games that are frequently populating most reviewers' top 10 all-time lists, the N64 never really went out of style. But if someone still plays this, there's a good chance they do it on an emulator. We're not sure what people looked like in the 90s, but apparently they had 3 hands. Seriously, how were you supposed to hold that dang controller? In any case, the N64 was still a landmark system, and good luck trying to get your hands on one these days, as they end up being pretty expensive. Then again, there was that aforementioned garage sale. Maybe you'll get lucky. Number 20. Fanny Packs. Efficiency. This was the name of the game for this 90s fashion trend. However, they were ugly as sin, and if you wore one, you practically emanated radioactive waves that screamed, "Please rob me, I'm a nerd." Still, it was probably still one of the only socially acceptable ways for men to carry around a purse. Let's see. Get robbed, or have the ability to keep our wallets, phones, and other knickknacks all in one place. It is a really tough one. Number 21. Tamagotchis. Somewhere in your basement, garage, or attic, there is a pet begging to be fed. Oh heck, what are we talking about? That thing is totally dead. We abandoned our beautiful little virtual pets years ago, and they slowly passed away in the darkness, crying out for their masters that once loved them. Hey, bet you didn't think a point about Tamagotchis would have ever gotten so morbid, did you? Don't worry. Just look around your parents' place and you'll find it. Hopefully. Number 22. Pokemon cards. Maybe kids these days still play with Pokemon cards, but we doubt it. Apparently, however, there's an actual game you could play with these things. Back in the 90s, it was all about comparing your cards to the guy next to us. Who the heck knew what an energy card was? Anyways, we're sure there's either A, some kids who still compare cards, or B, some older gentlemen playing this in a musty card shop, but for us, we haven't seen these babies since the 90s. Number 23. Goosebumps. We have no idea. But does R.L. Stine still write books? If so, we'd like to be directed to them, because the Goosebumps books were awesome. Their chilling covers, their shocking twists. It was the perfect series for any 90s kid who wanted to be spooked. And the TV series was pretty awesome as well. Last time we checked, you couldn't watch it on Netflix. However, heed this warning from us. Watcher beware. You're in for a scare. Number 24. Butterfly hair clips. Again, as a man, I didn't wear too many butterfly hair clips as a 90s kid. Apparently, they were a thing, but who knows. What did you think of our list? What do you remember from the good old 90s? Did we forget anything important? Let us know in the comment section below whether or not we remembered all our killer 90s trends. Enjoyed this video? Hit like, share, and subscribe to What the Facts. Wait, why don't you fact off with these other awesome videos? Go ahead. Choose the left or the right video and enjoy.